Hi, this is Trevor, and welcome back once again to our weekly tarot card video. Today is Saturday, February the 28th, 2015, the end of February, and it's March 1st tomorrow. That's the day that things open up and get rolling with my new studio space. A friend of mine was looking at the pictures and he said, Trevor, that's not an office, that's a studio. I like the sound of that. So it's a cozy room, and it's at 161 Stafford Street. The building is at the corner of Stafford and Grosvenor here in Winnipeg, right across the street from the Grove Restaurant and Pub. Lovely place to go for lunch. I've been there a few times lately. And the room itself can comfortably seat about 5 people and myself, 5 or 6, and it has everything I need. And I'm very, very glad to be able to offer some extended hours to my clients. A number of things that people have been asking me to look at in terms of this transition. I really appreciate where I've been at Elemental Book and Curiosity Shop. It was very, very significant to the needs of my mom, who was in care nearby. But now that she's settled, I can be kind of moving ahead with some changes of my own. So you can check that out on my website at trevorsense.com. Lots of information there. And that's also where you'll find links to things like the Facebook page, which is a lot of fun. And also you can find these videos listed in chronological order, pardon me, not chronological order, kind of a table of contents order, because these videos are done randomly. So sometimes you want to be looking up a particular card, and I have them in a table of contents there. And they're in the standard order that you will find the cards in, grouped into suits and number. And that's there on my webpage at trevorsense.com. As well, on this YouTube channel, and I've been noticing more subscribers and people having the opportunity to share some of their thoughts. I'm not an expert on tarot in terms of being a tarot scholar. I'm somebody who's been working with this as a kind of symbolic language for over 30 years. And many readers develop their own kind of approach and their own kind of style in terms of reading. And these videos are not meant to be the definitive explanation of what a specific card means entirely. Just some random thoughts of how these cards come up in terms of readings and what I've seen as some of the general nuances of the cards. So enough of all that. Let's get into our card of the week. And shuffling them. I just feel like there should be a drum roll, please. And then I always like to cut them. Okay. The Ten of Pentacles. And this is one of the 4 suits in tarot. Pentacles relate to the element of earth. And in playing cards, they relate to the suit of diamonds. And this is one of the interesting cards in the deck that actually shows different generations. Majority of the cards in the traditional Rider-Waite deck just show, standard adult figures. But this quite purposely shows an older figure who's seated with his loyal dogs, and in the corner there's a little kid pulling one of the dog's tails. And then there are these 2 adult figures standing under the arch. And you can tell a lot, you get a feel in the cards just from the physical posture of the figures and the structures that we see and how things are laid out. And there's something very specific about the arrangement of the pentacles on this card. They are actually in the arrangement of the Kabbalah. And that's spelt a number of different ways. And it is another system. It is one of the systems that relates to tarot. And as a system, the Kabbalah has gone through a great deal of evolution over time. These things, like languages, evolve and change. But they have a basic structure that seems to kind of resonate and stay the same. So tarot draws on that. And these pentacles are arranged in the positions that we see the Sephiroth. And those spheres are the placement. And you can actually lay the cards out as paths between those areas. And the spheres themselves, the Sephiroth themselves, are where we place the numeric cards. Ace through 10 and Page, Knight, Queen, King. They all relate and tie into that. So it's sort of like a kind of Rosetta Stone, something that allows these different systems to interact. And you get into a lot of debate with people who will say which came first, the chicken or the egg. Well, It's all chicken salad. These things interact and play off of one another. You know, tarot actually has its origins in a playing card game. And what started to happen is there was the association that started getting made to that. Many playing cards from the 1500s actually would have had news of the day kind of tied into them. There's a deck, a playing card deck in the Tower of London that has news and different things about political intrigues that are going on associated with those cards. So that was very common. And then what started to happen is there was the association to different systems that the cards kind of served as a collecting point. Just like how a computer has an operating system like Windows. So tarot is sort of a system that allows us to tie these things together. We make associations. And as an individual reader, you will develop your own interpretation and your own associations of these things. And we pay attention to what's been passed along. Just like in a language, words evolve and change, and some meanings kind of go out of date and fall away. So getting into the Ten of Pentacles itself, where there is this sense of things being passed along from generation to generation, it is a card that sometimes seems to indicate great wealth. When we take Pentacles literally in terms of ownership, that would have to do with our material possessions. So this card on a very surface level could have to do with wealth. It could have to do with inheritances, things that we want to pass along or things that we receive. But there's a deeper level to how those elements can work. Just as, you know, cups can relate to emotions, but not just to romance. And wands can relate to work, but more than just our jobs, our sense of doing. And swords can relate to conflict, but they can also have to do with protection and boundaries. You know, there's a lot of associations we can make on many higher and lower levels. So pentacles, in terms of owning, I like to think of, if you've ever heard of somebody in what I kind of call California style therapy, they'll go, oh, I really have to own that experience, right? And what they're talking about is accountability, owning it as in taking responsibility for. So this is a card that I think can tie in a lot to our deep kind of passed along values. You know, I know what I have through my family, what I have through elders that I have respected, and how I feel a responsibility to kind of pay that forward in terms of how that can work. So we can see that sense of interaction. What stands the test of time? You know, what is important, especially when we kind of reach those kind of later points where we're looking back and saying, what has really mattered and what can I share from my experience in terms of that? And just as the little child, you know, kind of has their own awareness, they kind of pick up on those things that are of worth and of value. So there's what speaks to us in terms of those things. There's a line in one of Kate Bush's songs that says, every old sock meets an old shoe. Something resonates in our values, just as we are drawn to certain mentors, and just as a godparent may recognize a quality in a child or in a person where they can impart something to them, something that is not necessarily what is expected or is out of a sense of obligation, but rather worth speaking to worth. So that's just some random thoughts off the top of my head. It's a card of richness. It's a card of appreciation. It's a card of what is worthwhile. And again, when we see an arch like this, what is built to last? What has a solid foundation for the future? Something I think that is very important to all of us these days, as we see so many things that have seemed to represent security going through change. I know in my own life, I'm coming back to the things my family taught me and the things that I have seen work for others through the wisdom of elders that has been passed along. I hope everybody has a great week, and I'll look forward to seeing you in Winnipeg if you want to stop by my studio space. By all means, give me a call ahead. It is by appointment, and all of that information is on my website. And for my friends that are distant, I'm also available online over Skype. Looking forward to sharing with you further. Take care, and have a great week, everyone.